Hey folks, Fig Propagation 2026. Now I've already got most of it done, but I wanted to go ahead and show you sort of start to finish on what I do for this process. I've already, not only have I got already underway, but I still have a ton of cuttings left that I don't have pots for. But I want to take one more, not just because I need to take it off the plant because I don't like where it is in the plant, but because it kind of shows you from a start to finish what goes on with this process. Now, what you're also going to see is I'm going to be doing this a little odd because I don't have, I'll show you in a minute. Long and the short is this particular tree has been on this property now for 4 or 5 years. I think it's coming into its 5th year. And it was last year I took the first big prunings from it, which is how I got started propagating figs on a larger scale. So it needed a big pruning. I hit it hard. I got a couple hundred cuttings out of it. And looking at all that wood that I cut, I'm like, what do I do with this stuff now? And it's like, well, can I actually propagate on a scale and get some success? I will say this, for all of the cuttings last year that I put some effort forth into getting them to grow well, I did pretty well. Some I tried with a little less effort, and the results were kind of in line with that. This year, I'm trying to hit them all with a lot more precision than I did last year to see if I can get a much better rate of success than I got before. But I'll show you what I do, and I'll show you the plant. So this is my Celeste fig. This is actually a plant that I brought over to this house from my previous house, and I installed it here, and she took off. And this was from a cutting from that. So yeah, this is coming into the 5th year, and I do some hard pruning on it. You can see we've got a lot of old gray wood. I kind of just use my own visual to see what kind of shape I want it to take on. I'm only producing enough fruit on this one for me to eat, so it doesn't really matter how hard I hit it. Like I said, I only eat off of it, and I'm not selling fruit out of this place, so I'm not worried about what the yields are. I just need to be enough for me. But this piece right here, I'm not a huge fan of it, so I kind of want to get rid of it. And to me, it looks like one decent sized cutting, so we're going to go ahead and take it. And I'm probably going to take it just shy of this node. And yeah, we'll see what that does. Now, like I said, I've already got a lot of my propagation underway. I think off that one tree, I probably got 250 cuttings. I only have space in my little tiny greenhouse for 180 plus a few more. If I want to put them on the floor, which I did a little bit of that. I'll show you that in a minute. But I'm out of space pretty much in there. I'm out of all of the compost that I sifted that I use for this process. And I'm just about out of pots too. So this is going to be a little unconventional in a couple of ways, and I'll let you know why. But again, this is more for camera purposes and showing you what I do. Imagine that I have a 1 gallon pot here instead of a 3 gallon, but we're going to do this in a 3 gallon because then we're going to let it grow the whole season if it actually breaks dormancy and decides to grow. I won't have to pot it up this season if that's the case. I'm probably not even going to put it in the greenhouse. I may leave it outside and see if it actually takes off out there and move it inside if we're going to get a freeze. Haven't decided yet. This compost is actually about half this pot's worth of unsifted, unfinished compost. It's a couple scoops of perlite, and the rest is sifted finished compost. So it's got a bit of a mix of that in general. Last year, I propagated pretty much everything in semi-finished compost and a little bit of perlite, and it did pretty well. It broke down quite a bit through the growing season, so I wound up losing a lot of the volume in the pot. And that'll probably happen this year, and totally not worried about that. Again, this is more for just kind of sharing purposes. And it'll be fun to see if this actually does work, because we could actually, again, get a pretty amazing plant by the end of the season off of this one cutting and this half-baked potting mix. So before I put the material in the pot, I am going to go ahead and get the plant set up for as much success as I know how to set it up for, and that is by using a rooting hormone. Now, when I do this process, now this is a terminal bud. So when this guy wakes up, he should shoot new growth straight out of the tip. He also will probably break dormancy, and some of these side nodes will shoot growth as well. Hopefully these lower ones will shoot root growth. So what I'm going to do is, opposite this node, I'm going to take my razor knife, and we're going to take some of that skin off down to the cambium layer. And I'm probably actually going to do that to the next node up just to see if I can get a little bit of extra growth out of there. Now, with a little teeny paintbrush and my Clone X, which is a rooting hormone, I dip. If I actually get deep enough in there, and then we paint. And we paint. And we paint the bottom a little bit, and I want just a little bit more on that. And that should help stimulate a bit of growth. Now, for the most part, the figs, especially the more kind of hardy varieties like Celeste, they don't seem to need a whole lot of rooting hormone necessarily, but it is a nice little insurance policy to take out on them. So I do. And now we're going to load this pot up. And the reason I paint that on now before I do this is because I do want to let it sort of dry and set a little bit so that it doesn't rub out or off when you put it in the potting mix. And now, like I said, this is not commercial grade anything. This is just the way I do it. And I did it. I'm not doing as good a job for this one as I did for the other ones. The other stuff was sifted. It was just a higher quality, more mature mix. This is not, and they're all in the greenhouse. And like I said, this guy's not going to be. But for explanation purposes, I'm okay with how we're doing this. And what we're going to do is we're just going to load this thing up, and we're going to stick the cutting and water it in. And I may actually grab some wood chip from what's left of my pile and top dress this with wood chip. I also may not, because I may leave it with a nice big gap on the top so that I can backfill it later when I have more material. Or I may just top dress it with more of the unfinished, semi-finished compost just as sort of a top mulch. I might do that instead just to finish her off. Because we got plenty of headspace in there. And now, if I want to, I'm just going to push it down in there. Try to get for the center. I'm going to actually try to angle it a bit so I can get this, because he is curled. If I can get this piece straight up like that. Now he's nice, like I said, he's nice and depressed in there, so I think I am going to backfill. I may actually backfill him to about a half an inch shy of that, which will leave that bud right at the top, protecting a lot of that wood. If anything else breaks dormancy in there for a leaf as opposed to a root, it will come out of that compost and add an extra branch. Again, I don't know if this is going to work or not. This is more just to show you how I did a larger scale. We'll get out to the greenhouse and look at that in a minute. But I figure I've got the pot, I've got the compost, I wanted to get that cutting off the tree, and you got to see an example of what I did to get my other 180 up and running. So let's go take a look at that. That's my little greenhouse. It's a 6x6 Harbor Freight plastic job. It's actually done a pretty decent job for me. Last year, it caught some wind damage this past about 2 weeks ago, and it didn't reset up as well as I wanted it to. But we'll crack open the front, and you'll see what I got going on in there. All right, let's take a closer look. So yeah, this is 6x6. I've got a vent that I can open on the front and the back. I haven't done that yet this season. I built these after taking my measurements that I wanted. I measured the pot size. I wanted to see how much I could jam in here. And yeah, we've got 100 and it's set for 180, but I think I've got 181 because I have 178. Each of these trays, I say these trays, let's step in here for a minute. Each of these sections should hold 30, 3x10. This top one is a different variety. This is Violette de Bordeaux. Everything else is Celeste. So I think I ran out of pots. That's what happened. Yeah. So I ran out of the pots that I wanted to use, and that was that. And these I had 28 of. So we got 28 of these and whatever the rest is of Celeste. And yeah, this is how I fit 181 plants in a 6x6 space. And when I water, I honestly just go in here with a hose, like a madman, and just spray around everywhere. And that means the bottom ones, I do try to get the hose nozzle spraying up underneath there, but I do rely on a lot of the drip through. In case you're wondering if that works, the answer is Yes, to some degree, because I did this last year and I had germination, or at least, for lack of a word, dormancy breaking on every shelf. So again, we're probably going to be absolutely fine. I'd love to see 75, 80% success out of this area, and I don't see any reason it's not going to happen. I think my timing's pretty well on this. Yeah, I'm pleased with how this got arranged and set up. And would I buy this greenhouse again? Yeah, I probably would. It was about $100. The lifesaver of it, honestly, is having a tray system of some sort. But you can propagate a lot in this small area as long as you can build up. If you're just using the ground, you're going to have a lot less space. But if you can multi-tier your section, you're in good shape. This plastic black bucket, I throw water in here and I put it in here just to kind of add a little bit of residual heat if it'll actually capture some. I don't know if it works or not. It's just, again, a little bit of a possible insurance policy. And you can see that I've got along the bottom here seed starting for the garden. I think I've got a lot of brassicas and I got some spinach and Swiss chard. And you can see we've actually got things breaking. So we've got some germination down there. I'm going to hit this with a hose again while I've got it open. And make sure they stay damp because it is rather warm in here. It's a 65-degree day. That sun captures. I probably get an extra 20 degrees in this thing at least. Yeah, coming into, like I said, we're going to have a 20-degree Monday, actually. Today is Saturday. Monday and the overnight into Tuesday. The days are going to be in the mid-40s, I think. But yeah, so I don't really have space for that 3-galloner that we just set up. I'm going to put that probably over there. Actually, let's walk over there right now. So these are the plants that I carried from last year, the figs. They were all in number 1s at the end of the season. And right before they went dormant, I potted them into 3 gallons. I did have to store them in the barn during the ice and the snow. I don't know. I think they should break dormancy well enough. I would have liked to have potted them up last season earlier because they were very root bound by mid-late season. These are actually elderberries that I did a propagation experiment on. You can see they're breaking dormancy. Am I going to put them under cover during the freeze? Yeah, I probably will. I'll bring them in. These guys I won't bother. I think they can handle the low temperatures again. I just didn't want them to get hit by the ice. I'll be excited to see how they break dormancy. I want to see how big they can get in those 3 gallons. And I'll probably do the same thing I did last year. Last year when I sold out of through Facebook Marketplace the figs, I think I charged about $10 a piece. For number 1s, or for 1 gallons, and I took the proceeds in excess of my costs and I shopped for the food pantry. I'll do the same thing this year. I'm thinking 3 gallons. If I put them on the market for about 25 each, should be a reasonable fee, especially if they break dormancy and they look nice and healthy. I think that's a decent charge, and that could bring me a couple $1,000s to take over to Aldi to shop. So yeah, something good's gonna come out of this, and it gives me a fun little project. And all those cuttings don't go to waste. So yeah, that's how I propagate my figs here on this property. And it all started because I wanted to take last year a big pruning and I couldn't justify throwing all that wood away. And I wanted to see if I could actually propagate without investing a ton of money on a pretty decent sized scale. And the answer to that is yes, kind of. And I'm hoping to get similar results this year. And yeah, fig propagation is a fun game to play. It's not that challenging depending on the varieties you're going to go with. And in 3 years, you can start churning out some really great fruit. So if you're not into the fig game, I highly recommend, if your climate allows for it, finding a variety that works in your area. And if you've got the space, grow a plant out for a few years, and when it's ready for a pruning, consider taking that wood and making some new plants. It's kind of fun little project to have. And there are a lot of amazing people on YouTube that can show you with much more precision how to do a much better job than I do. This is just my way, and I thought it'd be fun to share. So in the meantime, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.